Welcome to the Polymath Experience. It's really cool to have you. I'm super excited about this conversation. We met a few weeks ago, got to talking because, well, I have a DAO. You help DAOs in many, many ways, but it's not even the thing that comes back. I love that conversation because one, you and I, we share the same passion for all of this, and we care about decentralization so much. And before we even jump into all the decentralization stuff, because I know it's coming and I know it's going to be great, we're at a very, very interesting moment in time right now for crypto, Web3, blockchain, decentralization as a whole, because 2022 was a shit show. I don't even know if I swear words on this podcast anymore, but it's it's okay.
The universe sings.
How do you feel about the market right now? How do you feel about where we are right now? Do we recover? Where do we go from here? What's happening?
So first of all, thanks a lot for the invitation, Polymath. I'm from France, as you can say, with my accent. So I'll try my best with my French accent. Glad to be on your podcast. Thanks for the invitation, and glad to see my favorite clonics again. So at the time we're speaking, we're just experiencing a small, tiny bull run upward movement from the market. But we're really at the bottom of the market right now. The difference between this bear market and the bear market that we experienced in 2018, for example, is that I think on the builder side, people are less in a disbelief or less in a movement, where when they are really anxious on everything, they do know. So people who are actually on actively participating in the Web3 space so that it's already too big to fail. Am I too bullish saying that? But all the smart money, like the VC and the banks and the governments are into it. This is the main difference between right now and 2018. So on the builder side, there is a lot of really cool projects being built right now. The last bull market last year gave DAOs on all the other topics of Web3 a lot of infrastructure on tooling that are necessary to go from level 1 to level 2. So yeah, quite excited on the builder side. Then on the investor side, it's a bit more difficult because VCs and private equity funds right now are like sunflowers on a bit toward IA, artificial intelligence. On all the deep tech funds, all the LPs are basically people who are not that much into the Web3 ecosystem right now. And because of the volatility, those guys are a bit anxious about the market. So it will take a bit of time for them to come back. Then, of course, there is a lot of blockchain native funds as well. So I'm speaking right now about the deep tech funds that are the more powerful ones on the market. But we don't have to forget that there is more than 1,300 blockchain first native funds in the world. So if you're a builder right now,
know that.
It's there is a lot of people for a small cake. So this is a chance for builders actually, because it's the VCs, the blockchain native VCs, that are looking for entrepreneurs in order to be the first one on the deal. I've got a small tips for builders. If they change their bio on LinkedIn on working on something new and then 3 dots, this actually is one of the keywords VCs are looking for when scanning. Working on something new and then point ...
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
How'd you know that? How'd you find that?
I know a lot of VCs, and I went to a conference of one of them, Jean de la Roche-Brochard, that is the VC in charge of Team Aventure in France, the most active VC in Europe, and he was explaining that there is so many VCs that they just want to be the first one reaching to the interesting entrepreneur.
Yeah, of course. Do you have any idea, like the value those 380 funds represent, the AUM they have?
No, not at all. It's 1,000.
Yeah, that would be so interesting.
I don't have any figures about it.
My bad. Yeah, it's really interesting because there definitely is. I mean, it's one of the biggest skills that is needed still to this day in this industry is developers. And you can have as many founders as you want. If you don't have the development power to build the infrastructure, it's going to be tricky. And we're still in it's still the wild west out there. There's still so many projects and not a lot of like serious businesses, people who have, because I think what might have happened is a lot of people jumped from who weren't quite successful in Web 2, jumped to Web 3 and thought, it's so crazy. There's so much capital. I'm pretty sure I can just launch an NFT collection or a token, and it's definitely going to pump. I'm going to find like 10,000 people who are going to invest, and they end up in disbelief because it's not that easy. But it's hard to even. I mean, I've been around a little bit as well, and there's still so much noise. It's still hard to catch a real good project early. We can talk about DAOs. We can talk about everything else, because I'm pretty sure with your traditional finance background, you could talk about the whole thing. How do you, if you catch a project early, how do you vet it? How do you personally look at a project that is Web3, supposedly decentralized, and how do you say, all right, these guys are going to make it, these guys are not?
Wow, this is a 1 billion question. I look at the core team, the builder reputation in the space. Are they self-stayed expert coming out of nowhere, or are they truly people who have a deep understanding of the space? And I look, of course, of the previous achievement of those people. And then I look of the quality of their contributors. If it's a decentralized community, I look at who is part of their organization, who is looking at what they're doing.
That's super interesting.
So
on the first part, because being being anonymous is a big thing in Web3. I like it, as you can tell. I think it's very powerful because I think it takes away spotlight from the founder and put it on the project, which I think is really good. It's really tricky because how does it work? How do you check the track record of someone who is anon? Do you think the anon thing will remain a thing in the future, or do you think people will have to prove? Because the whole cycle of VC to anon founder to the public, and you see all the funds, you see all the marketing, and then you invest. Like it doesn't build trust. It doesn't. I don't think that's the future of Web3. How do you approach? How would you personally see this whole part? How
super
would you view this?
super interesting. I'll say you can still stay anon and have a track record. So some tools are made for this. If we take the example of degen.score, I'm not sure. Are you familiar with it?
No, I'm not.
It's a tool, so it's based on your on-chain activity, right? On the transaction you've made with your wallet. That is your identity on the blockchain, right? The more difficult airdrop you add, like optimism airdrop that was pretty hard to get, or the more ICOs on blue chip coins or blue chip NFTs you add, the more your degen score is high. So this truly is a reputation builder on a tool that you can use while staying anon. This kind of solution can truly be
That's really cool.
This is really a great solution, degen score.
I'd only thought of it in terms of social, because I'm more of a human-based person. Like I like having a conversation, and my intuition will say. But obviously, it's hard to do if someone wants to say anonymous. I'd never really thought of it as, well, the track record that you have on the chain can be proof. Do you think it's enough, or do you think it should need more? And if so, what do you think it should need?
Of course, it's not enough, but it can give you a first understanding of the deep expertise someone can have on this or that topic. If, for example, this person was a huge contributor of MakerDAO or I don't know, Uniswap, then you can trust that guy, and I don't know that maybe the treasury management of a DAO, if he was in charge of this, or the community side.
Yeah,
So
that makes a lot of sense. And even like we're still very early on, so even if you're not a huge contributor in a huge project, but if you start like leaving pieces of, like bits of contributions here and there, and you're active in this or that community, it doesn't matter much right now because we're too early on, because like even I wouldn't know how many like real businesses there are. There aren't that many, and but in 5 or 10 or 15 years, then this will work. You know what? Let's jump into the DAO stuff, because you have such a. I was absolutely impressed when you started telling me about yourself and your track record in crypto, because we got in at about the same time 5 years ago in 2017. But my personal part of the journey was go all in, ICOs, 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 money, 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 like completely sucked into the bull market for 8 months or something. Looked at some of the tech, but not much. And then when things started going down in 2018, then I really started to dig in. And it took me like 5 years, 4 years to maybe really know what DAOs were about. But you were an early contributor in Uniswap. If I'm not making a mistake, you were
yeah,
also
that's true.
an
That's
early
true.
contributor in MakerDAO. And let's take this opportunity to really go back a little bit on your journey, how you ended up in Web3, how you ended up in DAOs. And if you get off track, it's okay. I'll come back and I'll ask those questions again.
So I'm coming from a small town in the suburb of Paris, and I have deep connections with my friends that were with me when I was 6 years old. And I stayed really friends with those guys that are twins. And in 2013, those guys put all their. So when you're studying, you have to take loans, okay? And they
Yeah.
took all their study loans and they put it on Bitcoin. And we were just thinking those
What a
guys
great
were
move.
completely crazy, and it went quite well for them. And so it's thanks to those guys that I've been introduced to blockchain quite early onto crypto, because I saw the opportunity of it, not because I was familiar with the tech, but because I saw the opportunity of making money. I want to be
Yeah.
clear on that point. I wasn't a tech guy
Mm.
at the time. I just had the chance to have two friends, real close friends, who made millions back then, who introduced me to the crypto space quite early. So it took me a while. So I arrived in 2016, and since I arrived in the space, I spent my whole days digging the space.
Mm.
I was super into it, super interested in all the aspects of it. So first, on a more philosophical point of view, this is where I met DAOs. At the time, the DAO, that was one of the first iteration of DAOs. So some people say Bitcoin on Dash or the first iteration of DAOs, but the first project naming it was the DAO in 2016, and it made a lot of buzz at the time. And this is how I've been introduced to it. And digging more into that space, so Maker was making its funding proposal at the time. So it's the moment where a DAO is deciding on their value. So it's a
Mm.
huge, it's a really important process in the DAO, deciding their identity. So I arrived at that moment. And yeah, then I got interested in more DAO.
Mm.
So Aragon, the DAO tooling quite early, Uniswap, that is the more powerful DAO right now. And then, so first it was those big DAOs, and then we saw an explosion in
Yeah.
terms of DAOs and variety of DAOs. Since then, I've been in up to 100 DAOs on the same time. So it's always 5 to 10 DAOs, no more. I know that Koopa Troopa, that is
It's already a lot.
he's working on 40 DAOs at the same time, but I can't do that. I've been in DAO since then, from decentralizing the access of space with MoonDAO to self-development DAOs, to DAOs in order to make honey with bees, to vertical farms DAOs, to uh,
That's insane.
yeah.
Okay, what's the weirdest the weirdest but best executed business model that you've seen for DAOs? Because that was one of the questions that I was thinking about. There was the DAO buzzword phase where everyone was launching a DAO, where every project was launching one. Because I think that people understand there are good values behind a DAO. It kind of inherently means that you want to build something that belongs to the people who make it up. But when you get into it, you get in through that promise. But it doesn't always happen like that, because we say, hey, there's blockchain, so there's transparency, so you'll know. But there's still ways to manipulate data and to do pretty much whatever we want. And so in all of this, like you're mentioning some pretty interesting use cases. What's the weirdest, coolest DAO business model that you've seen?
I'll think about the weirdest, but one of the coolest I've seen recently is all the DAOs in the refi ecosystem. So the impact to earn DAOs. You make an action good for the planet or for the animals, and you're being incentivized for that, and not only with money, but so maybe the refi DAOs are the one where the reputation is the most important, because people are so grateful towards people who are acting in a good side for the planet. So those DAOs are working.
How does that work?
Puzzle Planet, for example, is by taking photos of all the actions you can do. Some other ones are working with trust. So those are really cool DAOs, new way of doing things, and it's working really well. The learn to earn vibes is something I'm following a lot as well, because right now we have to spread education about DAOs. So everybody in the space knows about NFT and metaverse because it's so sexy, but they don't have any.
Yeah.
They know about DAOs, but they don't know how much it's real right now. And so there is a lot of work to do on the education side. And there is a lot of projects that are educational projects around DAOs on blockchain. And all their batch of students are a DAO. They are using all the things they are seeing in classes, like NFTs, token, right of vote, etc. in the batch because it's a intern economy for the school. So this is super cool.
That's really cool. Well, it gets me wondering. I mean, I'm obviously very interested into the educational side because I've told you a little bit about the future of my project, JPEG Vault and Project Magenta that we've started to talk about. And education is definitely a core concept of it because it's really important. I think the learning curve, if you want to buy crypto, the learning curve is already pretty high because there is so much information. You need to realize who you are as an investor, what types of investors suit you. You have to make a lot of mistakes because no one gets good at investing before hurting yourself a little bit and losing some money. But if you want to get involved into the space, it's a whole other ballgame because it's, even if you're experienced in business, you have people who have a lot of Web2 experience, a lot of business experience, and they get into the space and they're still smart and they still understand the general dynamics, but it's such a huge shift of paradigm that they end up pretty lost and not really knowing how to address this. And so I think there's a real responsibility for the people who are at the top of the learning curve to kind of mentor and help the people who are coming up. And I really care about this, and I know that my co-founders and team really care about this as well. How does such a business model work? It can be refi, it can be the educational, because if you have money coming out, you need to have money coming in. And so how are those? I'm really interested into refi because I saw it come. Like I read a couple articles. My friend who's not in Web3 told me about it and told me like he's interested about it, and I've been trying to get him into Web3 for years. So that's his way of entry. How does it work? Like if you get paid for posting a picture showing that you've done a good action, where does the money come from?
Depend on the business model of the refi DAO, but the money can come from grants from the city, a state, or government. It can come from private companies that have a will to to act responsibly for the planet. It's like a classic NGO, but as other business acting as a DAO, the power of it is that it can be 10 times more powerful when it's growing. Just to go a bit more on the
Yeah,
subject,
please.
really one of the main reason why people are building DAOs is because they understood that it's 10 times more scalable than a classic company. People get incentivized so well and they really have a power of decision on the business that they works not 10 times more, but all their work has 10 times more impact. And this justifies the fact that a lot of contributors of DAOs are earning more than $10,000 a month compared to traditional worker in a traditional company, because their work have so much impact on the business. We can say that last year or 2020 were the first experimental years of DAOs, but it's already nowadays a $10 billion business globally. So this really shows the power of acting with the wisdom of crowd in a company.
Yeah.
Everything is going 10 times more fast. You all of the skill set you need in your company, so you don't have to scout or reach to people in order to hire them. So everything is going 10 times faster. All the decisions are made 10 times better because of the wisdom of crowd. So when they will have no friction in the way those companies are working, maybe I'm not that objective, but or maybe a bit too enthusiastic, but
It's okay. We don't care. You don't
I'm
need
sure
to
they
be.
will be unstoppable because like, come on,
I
it's already a
agree.
$10 billion market. The book market is only $6 billion. It has been there for 2,000 years. So
That's insane, and it's already like it's what 5 years in. It's insane. Okay, there's so much to unpack. How does someone make 10K a month by working in a DAO? I know you've said this on other podcasts, and I didn't listen because I just wanted to get the answer straight from you.
yeah,
What DAOs? What do people need to do in order to really make a good living?
yeah. So 12% of DAO contributor are making more than 10,000 K a month. So this is huge. Why? Because some people have just the specific skills the DAO needs in order to work. Because those company can really quickly have a huge treasury. They are incentivizing their contributor so well, and there is no, like in a classic company. Just in order to organize my thoughts, in a classic company, the mass of people is there with only small wages, and everything is given to the boss. And in a DAO, it's better splitted between the core contributor. So that's one thing. In order to illustrate this, last week the Uniswap core team gave an Excel spreadsheet. So on their Twitter, they posted an Excel spreadsheet with all the costs in total transparency the Uniswap DAO will have next year. And you can see that some of their co-contributors are earning up to 500K a year. This is not even enough for those people who are really bringing the protocol to life.
So what do they do? What do those people do? Those
Yeah,
contributors who make
yeah.
so much?
They can be in charge of the strategy side of the company. They can be in charge of the development of this or that sub DAOs, sub project of the DAO. The main job contributor in a DAO are doing is community management, right? On organizing
Hmm.
the crowds. And those guys,
That
because they
makes
are so
sense.
important, are earning a lot. Some of them who are working on giving the core teams the good information from one of the best and most important sub DAOs of a DAO can earn a ridiculous amount of money amounts.
That
Really,
actually leads.
yeah,
I was going to say that actually leads to a question that I've been wondering for myself. In traditional business, the way salaries and retributions are structured is quite simple because you have stakeholders and I mean stock owners and the people who run the business who basically try to take as much value as possible. They try to optimize, try to cut costs wherever they can in order to optimize productivity and profit. So it's pretty simple. You basically just pay yourself as much as possible, and you give away as much as possible to the stock owners. It's literally in the law in the U.S., for example, and the CEOs and the C-suite and the higher suit executives kind of make as much as is possible while being between the stock owners and the employees. employees get the minimum and the rest. So how do you find the right balance? I've been wondering this for myself. Like when our business blows up and we start making a lot of money,
Mm.
how do we decide how much should the team get paid, the people who are contributing the most, and how much should be decentralized or like given away to contributors, and how also, because it's value, it's a question of price, and so how do you value someone who's a moderator? How do you value someone who creates content? How do you value all of this? How do you value DAO contributions, basically?
Yeah, well, that's a tough question. But that's funny because I was speaking about it with some clients of mine yesterday. They just created a DAO, so they just went decentralized. They were asking me, the ex-CEO in charge of the strategy part of the DAO, was asking me, how much should I pay myself right now? How much
Yeah, it's
can
an
I
important
ask?
question.
How much can I ask from the treasury of the DAOs in order to pay myself as a next CEO on core team right now in charge of the strategy of the DAO?
And what did you say?
Yeah, like I just told him this can be subject to vote. Like you can vote this with your community in total transparency, saying, okay, so what is my value? Like if tomorrow I'm leaving the DAO, will it still work? Then what do you think is my value in the DAO? Doing this, you won't have
That's hard.
clear answer, of course. Right now, what is happening is that there is a kind of grille de salaire, a kind of
Yeah, a sheet. Yeah, a grid,
sh-
salary grid.
salary
Yeah.
grid that is existing right now based on the size of a DAO. A community manager in the DAO will be legit to take that much money amount, everything. But this
Okay.
is because it's still brand new. There isn't any proper process to do this. But I'm sure that really well, on maybe in less than 1 year, DAOs will have a response for that. As in a company, how does the head of Google or the head of Facebook choose to be paid 1 million a year? This will be in discussion, and I think they will have much improvement on this topic in the coming year. I want to add something. There is so much people working for DAOs right now, and it's being so real that it's a new way of working. That there is a new tool as Utopia, for example, that is providing DAO contributors with a retirement insurance, medical insurance plans, everything like classic employees in a company. And this really shows we are beginning to be at a state of maturity where
Yeah.
DAO contributors can even have such things
Yeah.
as in
Social
treasury.
insurance,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's really cool. It really goes to show that we you were saying this earlier in the conversation, the we're maturing and people have more trust in the ecosystem as a whole, and we can see that the scale of what happened last year
yeah.
should have made us go to zero. We should be at like Bitcoin at 3K and Ethereum at like $200, but we're still at decent prices considering the catastrophes that we lived. And yeah, the fact that you're starting to see such one opportunities for contributors, and two, those types of benefits. I didn't know that Utopia existed. This is very interesting. I'm definitely going to reach out to them. Um, what is if someone was like, listen to this conversation, loves what you're saying, and is like, okay, this is something that's interesting for me. What type of a DAO should they be looking at? What DAO should they be looking at? And what are the skills that are looked for right now? But you've started to answer this, but anyway.
So the first question, sorry again, is how should someone choose the DAOs they want to be part of?
Yeah, or what DAOs come to mind for you that you know are offering opportunities to earn a living right now?
Hmm. To respond to the previous question, there is existing job sites, websites where
Okay.
are listed. I will give you maybe the site, the website, so you can list them
Yeah, please,
below the
I'll link
description
it.
of the podcast. Yeah, this could be a good way for a contributor to or someone who want to be part of a DAO on make a living of it. Scout the DAOs that are looking to reward contributors. But I'll say the best way to do things is just like theater club, sports club, book club, just knock on the door, go in the Discord of DAO that really fits your personality. Not only the aim of the DAO fitting your purpose, but as well the mood into the DAO. So if you belongs well to a DAO, you will spend a lot of time working for that DAO. And if things go well, they will start paying you for it and you will make a living of it. So DAO in that way, best way for someone who wants to quit his 9 to 5 gradually and work on a topic that is passionate about. It can be a really a cool exit for starting some freelancing as a contributor for DAO. What was the second question again?
What types of skills are
Yeah.
looked for that
Yeah.
currently DAOs are looking for?
Yeah, every type of skill is looked for in a DAOs. So the number one skill looked for is community management, because of course, so our brain is only capable of having 150 relations. After speaking with 150 people, our brain is totally overwhelmed, confused. Imagine a DAO with 30,000 people. You will need groups of people in sub DAOs or in groups made with the skills of the people. In order to organize all those people together, you will need coordinators and community managers in order to educate and activate your main contributors. So this is the most needed skills for DAOs. And then you have they need a dev, smart contract, full stack, as well as designers, as well as people, finance guy, marketing, communication. So all the skills. I think basically you can have all the spectrum of the existing job
Of a
can be
company,
needed for DAO. Even scientists, even more manual jobs. This is interesting. I've been working for DAO that wants to be a decentralized ring manufacturer. I don't know how we say that in English, but
Okay.
they are making
Yeah.
ring on necklace, luxurious ones, and they want to be decentralized. So those guys need a lot of artisan.
Yeah,
What is it?
artisans.
Artisans.
I think
Yeah. Okay.
the word.
Um,
Yeah, I think it works in English as well.
yeah. Okay. So they need a lot of
Jewelry makers, we'll call
jewelry
them.
makers. They need a lot of people who actually can work with their hands, even if the organization is decentralized. So yeah, the
Man,
spectrum is.
that's
I mean,
insane.
yeah.
Okay, how does it work? How does this specific business model work in a decentralized manner? Who makes the decisions? Who makes what decisions? Who's in charge of the creative direction? Who's in charge of quality control? Like, how does this? Because in DAOs, and it actually leads into one of the questions that I had that I'll keep for in a little bit, but how would that work?
Super cool to speak more deeply about this particular DAO. So the guy,
What is it called?
the name of the DAO isn't out right now. The company,
Okay.
maybe you can link it. I will give you the name. So the guy who had the idea of this DAO has been working in the space for more than 20 years. It was hard for him to make rings with materials coming from all over the world. So he had this idea, crafting things with a decentralized organization. So the way it's working, so I'm helping them being a DAO. It's not a DAO right now, but it will soon be one. The way it will be working is they will decide on the products they want to make together. So imagine the 5 ring of the year 2023 they want to make. They will recruit the craftsmen, so the jewelry maker from all the country they need for the materials. So imagine for a ring they need a diamond from Africa, Central Africa, and then for the diamond to be in place they need a special material coming from Asia. In Africa they will have one contributor working on a diamond. Then in China they will have this guy making a specific clip in order for the diamond to be on the ring, and then everything will be shipped in another place where a contributor will put all the things together, and then they will get the ring, and then all the revenue of the sale of the jewelry will be split between the different contributors. So this is a super clever way to do things, and I hope this kind of decentralization in a craft work will be spread to other stuff as woodworkers, clothes, everything. Yeah, that's super exciting.
Yeah, this is literally okay. Not literally because I haven't thought that much about jewelry making per se, but the value creation process is one of those things that Amazon is for me a perfect anti-example, because they are so good at processes. They have optimized every single little thing from the beginning to the end.
Mm.
And because they are so good and they manage to basically, they're so important and they're so powerful because they capture the attention, that they're capable of saying, hey, you're only going to be making $5 for this. But in a decentralized manner, by using those technologies for transparencies, for accountability, my hope 5 years ago when I started getting into it after that infamous bull market was that we would take those processes and we take those systems, this optimization, and then we would put it in a decentralized manner so that every person along the value creation process will earn as much as they're owed, something that is fair, decentralized. And so hearing this for me is really amazing. I didn't know that existed yet.
Yeah.
Do you think that DAOs will represent a majority of how organizations are built in like 50 years or 100 years?
You're giving me goosebumps. This is my dream. I'm asking myself this question every day. Will it be fully decentralized? Will it be a mix between the actual way things are working on things taken from the Web3 space? This I don't know. What I do know is that up to beginning of this year, every DAOs was company, so tech company on Web3 native companies. Right now, we're seeing use cases of DAO that has nothing to do with tech, as zoos, jewelry maker, as I said, schools, other stuff. So it expanded outside the Web3 space. I do have an uncle that is working for a big bank in Europe, and they had a training on DAOs in the bank. I spoke
Wow.
with I spoke with big companies that are actively thinking about redesigning their governance system. Because come on, like the way it's done nowadays, shareholder in a board of shareholders giving a paper to someone with all the instruction being said in the meeting, and then this paper is given to the CEO, who is giving it to the managers and then to the workers. This has been like this for I don't know, like since the industrial revolution. This is not up to date for the internet world. And this is where DAOs truly have something in order to make those governance evolve. I'm really excited to see where things will go. But I have clients from a variety of landscape that it's crazy right now. I told you, those jewelry maker, people who are raising shrooms, people who are doing permaculture, people who are doing vertical farms.
This is so exciting. It's so exciting because it's like the story arc of Web3 is absolutely perfect, because the value creators, the value extractors got fucked last year, basically. 3AC, FTX, like all of those people that were now obviously not here to provide value, but here to get as much as they want. Like, I'm so glad. I mean, I have no hate for anyone. I don't wish any ill to anyone, any bad things. I'm really kind of happy for the world that what happened to SBF, because his pretense of being selfless and a philanthropist and making all of this money so he could give it away. And then it turns out that he's just like just a kid that thought that he could do whatever and take everything, and just really, really shady guy. And so now you have the villains that are obvious, and it actually gives room to people like us who, like, we care about this. We actually are building this, and we understand that society functions as a whole and not based on individualism. You should try to make a living for yourself, and you should try to make money, and you should try to provide for you and your close ones and your family. But if your winning results in someone else losing, then you haven't really won. And it's not even just philosophical. I don't know. I don't even know. I mean, I get a little bit excited
Yeah,
on
I got you
around
completely.
these
Like,
subjects.
what I'm telling myself is when people will come at my funerals. This is maybe too deep, but I just want to.
Hmm.
So it will be horrible if people were just like, okay, in the balance, he made a lot of money, but he made lose a lot of money as well. What I want is people saying, because of giving the right contacts to the right person, because helping as much people as he could, he brought value to all those people that were interested in his skills. This was just to illustrate what you were saying,
I
but yeah,
agree. And I think there's more and more of us. I think we're starting to realize that the way things were, I mean, that's the hope, that's the optimist in me. Yeah, I think a lot more people are starting to realize this and want to do the same. I know that there's a lot of people who are not, but it's okay. We'll convert them eventually. And what I love about decentralization, and that's a slightly other subject, but it's, or Web3, it's that with Web3, you don't need to go and work for an NGO and not get paid anything, and you don't need to give yourself away in order to do good. You can actually do good and still get paid.
mm, mm,
It's still capitalism. You're still a participant. You're still creating value. But instead of creating 100 and keeping 80 for yourself and giving away the minimum 20, we're switching it back. You're going to
mm.
get something that is not billions. I hope that we see less billionaires in the futures, or billionaires that use their money less. But
I like
it's,
to be that
for me,
optimistic.
it's, yeah, I know. And I mean, it's not about the money that you have or the net worth that you have. If I'm a billionaire in a few years, or in a lot of years, I want all of this worth to be in these types of ecosystems. I want to have a stake in ecosystems that matter, that have a positive impact in the world, and that understand the power of. I think we're going to see a wave, and you'll tell me what you think about this, but I think we're going to see a wave of like virtuous capitalism, or moderate capitalism, or
Mm.
fair capitalism.
Yeah, that was exactly what I wanted to say. Is that Web3 is maybe like the best alternative to. It is surely, I will say, the best alternative to the existing system we had for up to hundreds of years. Yeah, I didn't know about this terminology, fair capitalism, or
Me neither. Let's invent it.
yeah, but this is great. I like the idea behind it. It's still possible to create as much value as we had with capitalism as it is nowadays, but the distribution of revenues behind it, especially in the country that couldn't play the game because they didn't have any internet access or any banking system. Now with decentralization, they can have access to the game as well and get their share when
Yeah.
working. But since now the game was completely unfair, and right now when people are getting loans from AAV, we don't know how many chance we have as people from Western Europe. But in
Yeah.
Africa, in really poor countries, this for them is so huge. And
It's a huge gift. Yeah,
so this is all thanks to Web3. And I hope it will
it
help
is.
redistribute the money between every people in the world. And I hope I'm not too optimistic expecting this.
I think it's good. I think it's good to have a healthy dose of optimism and of delusion, because otherwise you don't do anything. But this obviously resonates a lot with me, because what we're trying to do, our mission with Project Magenta, is literally to bridge the opportunity gap and the wealth gap that goes with it, with Web3. And I 100% believe that it is feasible and that it is possible. And it just comes with people with right intention who have the right skills. Because I think that before, the people who wanted to have an impact were trying to rebel against the system from outside the system, and they wanted to break something that they didn't belong to and that they thought should not be the way that it was, and so they were kind of clashing against it. Whereas now we're actually coming in and saying, hey, capitalism is actually okay. It's not the worst system possible. It could work, but let's try this slightly different thing where we're
Mm.
still making money, we're still generating profit, generating revenue, creating value, but we're doing it in a way that actually gives the people who have less power and more of a chance and less of a glass ceiling, and they can get in. They don't have to pay hundreds of dollars that they don't have in order to access this. Yeah, I think I understand why the people at the top right now might view it as something that is a little bit dangerous, but I think that if they look a little bit closer, they'll see that it's actually good for everyone. Don't try to squash it. Just invest in it. Deploy your capital in a way that you're taking advantage of this. Just don't buy 50% of a supposedly decentralized network, because that just won't work.
What I like about what you just said is that the smart money is truly anxious and is scared about what's happening right now. I do think that what we saw happening with Wall Street bets 2 years ago, right now.
I don't
So
even know.
this was really,
Time goes so fast.
yeah, this was such a great example of how people, thanks to the wisdom of crowd and thanks to the power of mass, could make a difference on the fight against gigantic hedge fund. And for me, this is only the beginning of people noticing on gaining awareness toward the fact that they have the power thanks to internet and thanks to being connected all together wherever we
Not
are.
being isolated anymore.
Yeah.
You're so right.
I was closely following this thing with Wall Street Bets. I was on Reddit every night, putting money on BlackBerry, Nokia, on all those.
Did you buy
EMC.
GameStop?
No, I didn't. I didn't. So the thing is, everybody was on Reddit, and everybody was putting names of stocks at the same time. You just had to choose your battle. You couldn't put. So if
It can be
you,
everywhere.
yeah, I remember I was still working at the time with my team in Bordeaux, in south of France, and we were at the hotel, and they were waiting for me in order to go have dinner at the restaurant with a client. I was just in front of my computer, just watching this live on the market, just realizing how it was powerful.
Of the crowd.
It was wow. It was so crazy. Smart money followed that with a lot of attention. Of course, they are scared of all of this phenomenon, and at the same
And
time,
that's
it's too big for them. It's too big.
It is too big for them, but they if they're actually smart money, they should see that power is not inherently good or bad. It depends on how you use it. And the crowd has it when they realize that they do. If you believe in something, if you get enough people to believe that they have the power, like Reddit did for the whole Wall Street bets thing. And so if smart money is that smart, they should just realize that decentralization and that Web3 is actually their opportunity to leverage this, their opportunity to come in and participate in this. And yes, you're not going to come in and you're not going to pressure people into buying the majority. You're not going to get 80% of a network or 70% of the network. And you wouldn't want to. You'd want to own the fair number, the fair amount, and to make sure that because the least you take, the more other people get. And a lot of these people who have skin in the game, who have a stake in it, will then participate in activating the network effect and activating further wisdom of the crowd and getting people in. And I think that when everyone wins, then it is truly a win. And that's what you're sporting a Bored Ape Yacht Club as your profile picture. And I think that there are a lot of things around that project, and I actually think I want to talk with you a little bit to see what you think. But one of the things that they definitely did so well was to activate the people who were inside into becoming the biggest brand ambassadors, and they were the most vocal group on Twitter for such a long time, and they established themselves, and they paced it so well in the serum drop, and the way the Macy the mutants came in, and the way the kennels came in. And I think that there's a really interesting lesson and a really interesting masterclass in that.
To speak about this, I will tell you something So I rarely speak about this story. So I minted my Bored Ape directly from the website, and I sold it for 1.3 Ethereum 1 month later. You could see this transaction on OpenSea actually. So I still have it as my Discord profile picture, but I don't have it anymore. And
Oh, that's
yeah,
that's unfortunate, but it happens.
yeah, it happens. And you know what? This is the cost of the lesson I learned from it, and it's an expensive lesson, but as you were saying, at the end, what I do like with that ecosystem, and specifically with Web3, not a traditional stock market, is that there is so much volatility and so much things happening. Everything is such an experience. Every mistake that you make on every thousand of euros you're losing is each time a great lesson, and this is the way I'm seeing things at the time. And in order to respond to your question, so after that, I have to say, after this bad experience of mine, I didn't get that much a close look to the Yuga Labs Bored Ape community. But what they did is truly an amazing work of communications on Yuga Labs buying Me Beats, on buying all the other cool NFT projects. It really made Yuga Labs a giant in the space of NFTs right now. In bear market right now, we can't really see it, but I do think that the future for Yuga Labs will be like a big group owning all the blue chip NFT. They understood things before anyone else, and this explained their success.
We can talk about their success some more because it's. I don't know if you saw. There's a class action suit that was just filed. I think it was a few days ago by
Never, don't know. Yeah.
two. Yeah, it's actually really interesting because I'd heard about some components of this, but it's really hard to dissect and to really know what is hearsay, what is actually true, what is not true, because Web3 is still such a small pot, and so you have a lot of interests that go against each other. There's still quite a bit of individualism, despite all the good actors that we've been talking about. And what this suit says is that I might butcher his name. I think it's something O'Leary or Osiri. Came in as a manager and basically has a lot of connections. And there was a partnership with MoonPay, and you had MoonPay that was supposedly facilitating the purchase of high value NFTs for people. That was part of their business model. I think that's what I read in the lawsuit. But what supposedly happened is that instead of facilitating, they were actually buying Bored Apes, giving them away to influencers, and then paying the influencers for the marketing without disclosing that it was actually marketing. And so I do think that Yuga and the Bored Ape team did a lot of things very well, but it's hard not to think that there were shady things, weird things going on. I'm not even going to go into the Ryder Rips thing because that's just I still don't know what to think of that. It raises some very interesting questions because those are some, if they are true, allegedly. Well, I'm not gonna. It's not my place to say if I think they are or not. But if they are true, what do you think of this? Because it's really aggressive. It's like marketing at all costs, benefit at all costs. You have Andreessen Horowitz, A16Z, that came in right around that time, that also has a stake in MoonPay. So it creates such a very interesting pot. And does does that take away from the ethos? Does that take away from Web3?
Your question is like, how come does Andreessen Horowitz come at the right time always with MoonPay, Yuga Labs? Is that it?
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, I'm a little bit dumbfounded. I'm a little bit there's a little part of me that's the diehard Web3 natural network effect, natural ambassador, and then there's also like I've studied growth hacking. I've tried to use it because I've never been very efficient at it, but there are ways to hack growth, and there's definitely like anything that's done to the extreme can go borderline on the dark side. And I don't know if I really have a question other than like, what do you think of this? Do you think there's a limit? that we shouldn't cross. I don't know. It's been more than an hour already, so maybe my brain's getting a little bit.
About the first part of your thought, so it's always those. It's really numerous actors, like 20, 15 people who are always there at the good time in the perfect momentum. I'm sure about one thing is that there is insider groups, Telegram groups or WhatsApp groups. I do have insider groups where I have insider information. One of them is Crypto Tester, and I will suggest everyone to join Crypto Tester. That is a community with only Web3 entrepreneurs on blockchain native investment funds, market maker. So people who are deeply rooted into Web3 on all day long. So it's really an engaged community on all day long. It's a NFT based community. All day long, people are sharing some information about the market. These groups at my level give me some informations about the market before anyone else, but I'm sure there is groups I will never have access to, or parties in Miami or I don't know where decisions are being taken with information. Andresen Horowitz that invested in FTX. I'm sure I will be wrong about the figures, but they lost something like $1 billion because of FTX. But they are still in positive right now, having gained more than 20 times what they lost on FTX on printing one of the best years ever for A16Z. So
yeah, it's insane, man.
Yeah.
It's insane what having capital can do.
Yeah, I've been part of this world when I was working in merger and acquisition. I met tons of VCs, but I do think there is a huge step between European VCs and those American funds, because I went into VC office that were managing hundreds of millions of dollars in Paris, and their office was only 2 rooms with 4 people working around computers. So behind it's nothing, but those US VCs are something else. Yeah. This was my life.
I don't know if it's any representation. Yeah, it must have been an interesting life. I wish I'd seen. Like I wish I could see what it is like. Have you seen the show Billions?
No.
It's a pretty good one. I don't know how representative it is, but you're interested in finance and all this stuff. If you're ever in need of a show, it's Billion or Billions, something like this. It's a really good one.
My thought behind this is that we do think the smart money has everything 3 years in advance, and they know exactly which industry will pop up in the next few months. So they are doing an amazing job in order to help entrepreneurs. They are not only here for making money, but a lot of them are really positively acting toward the entrepreneur ecosystem. But we saw it with artificial intelligence right now. Nobody was expecting ChatGPT to be a so huge thing in the space. And I saw VC really close of mine that from day to another just created a new vertical in the investment thesis, saying, okay, now we are fully into artificial intelligence, and we are creating a $100 million vehicle in order to get investments on this. And things are going so fast. I do think there are things at the same time as we people interested in deep tech, on following stuff on LinkedIn, on everything. But this last example with all the thing around artificial intelligence. So I saw that live.
So fast.
Was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. They had 1 million users in something like 1 week or first week of.
It's so surprising. It's not like, in retrospect, it's not easy to see the power of it, because like I couldn't wait to tell like 5 or 10 of my friends about it. Like, oh my God, look what I did. I had a full-on conversation with ChatGPT for like 45 minutes around spirituality and self-development.
Wow.
And it was really cool, and it got me, and I was telling my girlfriend, who's not amazed, I mean, kind of, but not really. And I was telling her, hey, like, this AI had a conversation on a subject that is, it's hard, it's expensive. Like, How do you get better? What should you do if you're in this or that state? What are some practices that you could implement? And then I was telling it, but you forgot that, and so you should probably. I think I told it, I think you forgot about introspection. It's really important, and so it bounced off it and be like, yeah, actually, introspection is a very important component of self development. It develops self awareness, and this is day one. This is an alpha version of a tool that stopped the testing, I think in 2021. And so when it actually goes live, when it starts to not just do things off of a database, but also adjust to the user that's using it, it's going to be
crazy. Microsoft just injected $10 billion in it. As you said, it's just the alpha version.
That happened.
It was announced yesterday. Yeah, I played a lot with it as well.
Fuck it.
It's truly redesigning a lot of jobs. Like the first thing that comes to my mind was, okay, so now on this or that topic, people will write in 10 sec a 600 pages book. And I went to Kindle. I do have my Kindle, and I went to Kindle, and I saw a lot of new books coming out of nowhere, and people are like, there is so many new business opportunity behind it. I'm seeing on LinkedIn people who are in Web3 who are now expert in artificial intelligence, and like out of nowhere,
wave hopping.
they just want to catch the hype. And I'm sure it will be a thing, and I'm really excited to see the bridge between Web3 and artificial intelligence.
Me too.
The application.
Where do you see it? Because I've thought about it, and it's so obvious that there will be a bridge. But I thought about how do we implement AI into our business processes. I have a couple ideas. It's going to be interesting, but it's not life-changing yet. And I'm very curious to hear about what you think the bridge will happen between the two.
It has such thousands applications, but like all the paths for the yields in the loans protocols as Aave, artificial intelligence could in the matter of second find the best path in order for user to get the most of their yield every day or every hour. Like the opportunity are too big.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably what's preventing. It will permeate everything. It will probably just seep into all the infrastructure, and you will get into Discord, and instead of asking a million questions to a moderator, you'll go into a chat bot, and you'll open a support ticket, and you'll ask questions, and the AI will be capable of answering 95% of the question. They'll be able to go into the blockchain and say, hey, this is what happened to your money. You send it into Polygon instead of sending it on BSC. I'm such a tech optimist. I do think that tech used well can be very powerful. For the first time in many years, I was actually a little bit scared of what's going to happen. And holy shit, I hope that it could very well further the divide between the people who have access to it and not access to it.
Yeah, if it stays as it is, like open source on free, it's not a problem, I think. But clearly, it will make the gap bigger between people who are working hard and people who are working smart. You will be able to do so many tasks and save so many hours thanks to artificial intelligence. And in my workflow, my daily workflow, I'm implementing so many artificial intelligence already that people who know to work smartly will gain productivity on people working just hard without using the tools that are existing. And maybe this is one more opportunity for people to jump into entrepreneurship and like with all those intelligence enabling you to do text to code and build a website from what you want as a feature. It's just crazy for the frictions people had about knowledge on everything.
And administration, you just made me think of administration when you have paperwork to do.
Yeah, exactly.
An intelligence, an AI will very well be capable of like going into your transactions, looking at your invoices, and be like, boop, 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 boop. All right, this goes there. Bam, bam, bam. This is your declaration. This is how much taxes you should pay. Sorry.
Yeah, just
No, you
going
go
back to
first.
DAOs, BIP is a DAO tool that just implemented ChatGPT free. So the previous version of ChatGPT. This is just a free tip for people who will be listening this 1.5 hour podcast, but it enables, it's a huge improvement for DAOs because, as you were saying, it's like a chatbot on your Discord. Instead of having a moderator always responding to the same Q&As on FAQs on Discord, for example, those AA will help the core team educate the contributors by giving them all the response they need. Where is the white paper? What is the aim of the DAO? How can I participate to that or this vote? What is the
What is it
quorum of the
called?
vote? BIP dot so.
Damn, there's going to be so much stuff to link to. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so powerful.
What was your question again, Polymas?
I was going to ask what you've already started implementing in terms of AI in your daily workflow.
Yeah, for example, as you saw, my English is not that academic. So when I'm writing in English, I'm using a DeepL. I'm not. Do you know DeepL?
Oh yeah, DeepL, yeah.
Yeah, you can just write your text in any language you want, and it will translate it in a perfectly academic English.
That's AI?
Yeah, it is. It is.
I didn't know. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Now that I think of it, obviously I hadn't made a connection, but yeah, it makes sense.
And then as soon as I have a question business related, I'm asking ChatGPT. Like no,
What's the
really,
latest question you asked it?
the latest question I asked is so I have a twin brother that is living in Réunion, Iceland, next to Madagascar on Africa, and I wanted to so he just had a little child, and I wanted to make a gift, to give a gift to his newly born, so my nephew, because he's abroad, because on this island you can't find, so Amazon is not going on this island, or it's really expensive, so it's
Okay.
always difficult for us to bring things there. So I asked ChatGPT. Okay, I have a nephew. He's 2 months old. He's living on Réunion Island. What kind of gift could I send him? And he gave me a list of 6 to 7 proposals, and it was perfectly well done. It
That's
has been shipped.
insane.
Yeah,
It's insane. It's gonna AI is going to become our best friend. It's going to
yeah.
become the thing that we talk to the most because
Mm.
it's going to right now we maybe don't not have the habit. It's just a question of habit.
Yeah.
That you have early adopters like yourself. I did the same thing with Mid Journey. I don't know if you've tried it.
I haven't tried it. I've heard about it, but I haven't tried it.
It's fucking crazy.
Okay.
It's like I'm an artist in my mind. I'm creative. I have ideas, but I never took the time to practice those skills. I can't draw for shit. I can't paint. I'm finally at 30 learning to play the guitar, but
Cool.
it would take me to draw a picture that resembles slightly what I have in mind, or that portrays the question, that portrays the like the intention that I have. It would take me days, literally days of, I have a meeting, I'm going to do half an hour of doing this. I have to erase half of it because it's shit and then have to redo it again. I've spent hours and hours on Midjourney in the past few days, just creating stuff, creating content for my personal benefit. Like I journal a lot. It helps me with my introspective work. It helps me it makes me accountable to myself. And I found it interesting to start using AI to put whatever I'm going through into sort of an image. And I don't know, I'm a pretty visual person, so it helps me get this information back. And so I find it super powerful. So you and I were pretty like early adopters. You've already started using ChatGPT as your assistant. I saw a tool somewhere. I can't remember where it was. Someone has created a bridge between ChatGPT and Siri. So now you can access ChatGPT with Siri, and that is obviously the future. In the future, we'll have a small something in our ear for the bravest, something in our brain, and you will like instantly just say, "Hey, hey Siri, let's activated my phone. What's this or what's that? Like, what time does the store close? Remind me to do this or tell me to do that. What's the fastest way to do this or that?" Yeah, and in 5 years, we'll all be doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my God, that's scary. Honestly, this has been such a great conversation. I don't want to like feed it anything else that wouldn't be necessary. I'll just ask you this. What are you looking for right now? Who are the people that you want to meet? What is the type of people that you would want to reach out to you and talk to you based on your current like personal needs or professional needs?
What I will say is why we could stay one more hour speaking together. So I'm deeply into humans, and I'm deeply into personal development as well, journaling, all the things you said. Been meditating 2 hours for 7 years.
That's why we get along. We're on the same brainwave.
Yeah. We'll speak about it maybe one another day. But all the people who are really driven toward what they are passionate about or what they want to become, I really have deep connection with those people. And it's working with you, Polymas. Like yesterday, I met someone who wanted to do a DAO. I told you about mushrooms, and use those mushrooms as nootropics in order to do biohacking and boost his brain.
You need to put me in touch with that person.
And it was so interesting. And we spent like 2 hours speaking, and I was at tons of things of work to do. But I will put you in touch for sure. But those people, not only about personal development, but it can be someone who is playing hockey, someone who is playing the piano, the guitar, who is acting. But everyone who has a deep passion for something, who is living his life, who is not stuck in a life he doesn't want,
or stuck and wants to get out.
Yeah, exactly. That I think this is the big majority. I have deep connection with all those people, and I always take time in order to learn from them and try to understand their purpose in life. I think my passion in life is to meet people my age who have a totally different story of life, and understand their vision of the world and what's going on. This is why I've traveled so much, and I spent 1 year between Nepal and India, and I'm going back there in March. I will spend 2 years there, because in Nepal I bought a motorcycle and I went to the frontier with Tibet. On the way, I met people my age that had a totally different conception about the importance of working in their life. I was in a distance relationship with a girl at the moment. I was struggling badly with this relation, and they had so much different vision of love, of family, and everything. And it was so enlightening. This is what is feeding me in my life. So yeah,
that's amazing. It's literally the reason why I'm doing this podcast. It's because I love meeting those people. I keep on meeting them. Like every other person that I meet, even in the realm of Web3, is the type of person that you describe. And we could probably do another hour and a half on personal development, on our various practices. But one of the things that I've learned a lot, thanks to my girlfriend, is that other people help you as much, if not more, than you help yourself. And I didn't really, it wasn't really conscious in me, or maybe it was ego related, where I just thought that I was going to figure out what the fuck is wrong with me and how to get better and how to get more happy. But yeah, meeting people, if you're open enough, and that applies to personal development, but it applies to business as well. I think the biggest growth that I've done when it comes to being a founder and being a leader is in, like, being a leader is not being above the people that you work with and telling them. It's a lot more about being with them and listening to what they say and processing 100%. What they're saying and processing that information and making sure that it is used in the best way possible. That's why I've come to see myself. I say CEO sometimes because it's what speaks to people and their psyche, but I see myself as a facilitator, and I think that's in life and in growth, we're all kind of facilitating each other's growth. We meet, we talk, you inspire me for something, I inspire you for something. And it always goes both ways. No matter where you are in life, no matter if you're 50, super successful, if you meditate 3 hours a day, if you have the perfect relationship, you could meet someone who's 16 and will like completely revamp your
Totally.
perspective on life.
Totally.
Do you want to maybe do you have people in Web3 types of people, DAO founders, like who should reach out to you on your LinkedIn or Twitter that we will link somewhere?
Sorry again, Polymas.
If someone in Web3 would want to reach out to you, who are you looking for? DAO founders, people who want to help you build your business, or like who are you looking for at the moment who should reach out to you when they've listened to this podcast?
Anyone. If I can help with the skills I'm doing, like helping founders get non-dilutive funding, or people who want to bring DAO to build DAOs, if I can help them with doing that, I'd be more than happy. Above all, anyone who is interested in my life, in my track, in what I'm doing, and wants to learn more, feel free. And I'll be more than happy to meet other people who have common interests with myself. And it's like I have many slots up, and I think I have something like 18 to 20 slots open of half an hour every week. And I'm meeting 18 to 20 person a week. I love this. Like, feel free, and I'll be more than glad to.
That's really cool. And for anyone who's not already convinced by this lengthy conversation, I've started to slowly work with Corentin, with Cox, a few weeks ago, and he is compassionate, and he is empathetic, and he listens, and he understands. Definitely one of the smartest people I've met in Web3 terms and in general terms, and so I highly recommend anyone go to him for any needs that they have.
Thanks a lot.
Any last words? My pleasure, man.
It was great speaking with you, and thanks again for the invitation.
It was awesome. And it will happen again, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we'll do this again in a few weeks or in a few months.